to today's Open Group webinar, which today is about the use of ArchiMate to get tangible results from TOGAF. This is a first in a series of webinars about the use of ArchiMate, which I hope you will look out for over the next coming months. Today is Rob Kraus, who's EA consultant from BizDesign. Rob is kindly standing in for his colleague Remco Bloom, who was meant to do this today, but so we thank Rob for standing in and giving this presentation. Before I hand over to Rob, I'd just like to go over a few housekeeping issues just to keep the event moving forward smoothly. We would encourage everyone to submit questions. The most effective way to submit questions is via the text facility at the bottom of the right hand of the screen. Can I ask when you are submitting questions to make your questions address all attendees? That way everyone can see what questions are being answered, or asked I should say. You'll also be interested to learn that this event is being recorded, so if you do have to leave the event early, or if you do experience any technical issues, you will from tomorrow be able to listen to a recording of the whole of this event, including audio and video. Without further ado, I'd like to hand over to Rob to start the presentation. Rob, over to you, please.
Thank you, Simon. Yes, everybody, to this webinar about tangible results, ArchiMate for TOGAF. It's an ArchiMate and introduction in how ArchiMate can be combined with TOGAF to get good results for your architecture. To me, my name is Kraus. I'm an enterprise architecture consultant at BizDesign. So I have clients of us with setting up their EA practice general, and then trainer in ArchiMate, in TOGAF, and in our BizDesign architect tool, and we model your ArchiMate models. Use this email address, or find more about our tool, for example, on our website, and you can follow me on Twitter. So if you have any questions after this webinar, I'm happy that you can send me an email. I'm happy to answer them, and my contact details. Maybe a nice topic, difference in your architecture. We can talk about process architecture, innovation architecture, application architecture, or technical architecture. What and also TOGAF is focusing on what are relations between all those different domains. This is essential. So for example, how are applications supporting my processes? Or my applications deployed on my technical architecture? Those are very difficult questions, and I can help you really well to be able to analyze these kinds of questions and build a complete enterprise architecture. Because an enterprise architecture is about the integration between all those domains you see in this picture. About the topic ArchiMate architecture, you come across all kinds of words, definitions, course with many others. So in this webinar, I will walk you through the main concepts. ArchiMate, stakeholders, architecture, TOGAF, to give you an idea about what it is about, what the basics, and how to use it in practice to get results. So BizDesign, the company I work for, we have them to help organizations to be able that they can change effectively the enterprise architecture, requirements management, and business process improvement. We're creating efficient methodologies, tools, consulting, and training. We follow standards like ArchiMate and TOGAF. Really chosen to support us open standards and become an active member within the open group. And that's why we give webinars regularly. Two things of an enterprise architecture approach are very important: the process and the language. As a process, so I'm going to implement enterprise architecture in my organization. Which step do I need to take? Who needs to be involved? And what the process I have to walk through. but on the other hand, a modeling language to capture your architecture, a good modeling language, and ArchiMate is there the standard of the Open Group for. And they meet each other in the topic of viewpoints in the center. We'll talk about viewpoints, and this is the way you can also combine TOGAF and ArchiMate perfectly together. Talk about in this webinar, I will start with the base of ArchiMate, how this language is built up, summary of it. Then to basics about TOGAF, just in short. And topic will be on which ArchiMate and TOGAF are combined, so you see how in practice we use it to help clients get good results with the complete EA approach. If Archer enter language, then this is the case. So look at the cartoon. Sometimes those models, people are drawing boxes, but you don't know what it means. Yeah, rectangle or something other. But if you communicate with each other about the picture, you need to know what this box means. So that's why ArchiMate was developed. It's a language to make sure that boxes become real concepts and are not just lines, but become relations. So creating a real modeling language with concept relations and formal semantics and definitions, so that we have a real language to communicate with pictures to each other. With which like English or another language, we also have a dictionary in which we explain what the words mean. This is what ArchiMate does. It explains what such a box, what it is about. So language for describing architectures. The business application and technology layer. So different domains, but focus especially on the relations between those layers. So how's my application escape supporting my business processes, for example. As a language for mathematics, it's also techniques for visualization and analysis. With various stakeholders. About this in the second part of this webinar. So, and you can look see more about the ArchiMate language on the site of the Open Group or archimate.org. And the standard completely free. So if you go to the Open Group website, you can download the complete specification. Works as follows. You level models within a domain. So for example, a high level process architecture, with a level application architecture. Then you model the relations between the domains. So applications supporting my business processes. This is a basis for visualizations. So I can create diagrams, views of this missions. It's just for analysis. You can build the complete enterprise architecture of your company, many applications, many processes. If you get in ArchiMate and have it in the architecture tool available, you can also use the analysis functions like vector of change analysis. Once, if I'm to replace this application, using which connections has it to other applications, on which infrastructure is it deployed. All those questions you can easily answer if you model it in ArchiMate. ArchiMate to other standards like UML and BMN. So ArchiMate was developed. The other standards, modeling standards. And some concepts in the art language can be mapped to steps in UML, for example. Intended to replace such modeling language. It is intended as an umbrella language because it covers all different domains on a bit level. You really want to go into more detail. So let's say you want to go into detailed application design, then in a moment you can walk over to UML to give more detail. The framework of ArchiMate looks like the three layers: business, application, and technology. There's environment of one. And these layers are three columns, which is about passive and active objects. You compare it to the language English. Objects are in a sense. They are the verbs, and active concepts are subjects. What to do on it, it looks like this. So when we talk about the passive column, it's about information and data. So information on business here is important. How it's implementing data in the application domain. The column we talk about active things, so process or services that we deliver to the customer. But also functions that applications are performing. The is about the structural items that perform this behavior. So for example, our organization domain, what of organizational roles and actors do we have? Which components we have? The first one. The technical infrastructure domain often the columns together in one domain. Or technical environment, or bases, or servers, or network, and those kinds of technical infrastructure items. Concepts, this is a summary. It are not all the concepts, but the main concepts looks like this. So this layer, I have those kinds of concepts, for example. Business always in yellow. So business processes, which are providing business services to our customer. Business plus use information, business options. Is it called ArchiMate? They are represented in A. Is this object represented in or in a physical form, for example? Right, you see the original structure. So what are the business roles and actors which we have in our organization? Summary of the business layer. The application layer, we talk about app components, right? Which applications we have, systems. Which functions are they performing? And which services are these applications delivering to processes? If we talk information in application layer, it's about data. This data is stored in these applications. Then the layer about our infrastructure. So the databases, the node we have, or connectivity, software, so your DBMS, for example, or your operating systems. Those kind of infrastructure on which your applications, your business applications are deployed. What's in this picture is that the layers are connected to each other. Application is connected to business layer. Technology are connected to application layer. In this way, connect all the domains to each other and you create a complete model enterprise. Of all the layers, a bit more detail about. You have to imagine this is an example of an insurance company. So if you talk products and services in the business layer, you can create this kinds of diagrams. You will see a product contract, so a damage insurance, an insurance policy belongs to it, and it is to a customer who is being insured by buying this product. Some services side, so a policy, for example, declaration service, so this customer can send operations based on that he has bought this much. You see here that are the different relations in ArchiMate. There are different relations to indicate what the relation is between those concepts. In this example we have aggregation and association relations. The aggregation relation from UML is also available in that language. What about business processes and roles? So that happens in the environment. There's a business process. So processes we will when its notification comes in, and we have an end event that the customer is happy because he's paid. We are assigned to different roles. So who involved in performing which process? We have finance employee, for example, and the administrative employee who are involved in different steps of the process. Also, your business functions like this, and here we see something new. Business functions, but we see also a position structure by nesting. So, financial business function consists of two sub-functions, fetching and collecting. Arch allows you also to use that structure. So when we talk about information on business layer, we talk about business objects, like this. It's about an insurance, which consists of damage data, but also a request, and has a specialization. So different types of insurances, a damage insurance, a travel insurance, or a life insurance. Of the business layer, if we go further down to the application layer, we see here an example of a view in which we have two business processes, and we see how these processes are supported by my applications. So application services, my application components. So application services, components, so which are the systems we have, which services they are realizing, and they are used by these processes. Here you see more how applications are connected to each other. So we talk about interfaces between applications or applications functionality of each other. You can also make those relations in the application layer itself. Down to the technology layer, here an example view of how applications we have are deployed or are using infrastructure services. So in the application system is a service of the mainframe, which has some software DBMS on it. It's connected to a network, your LAN, which deploys a file server. Connect the application layer to the infrastructure layer. Which is that ArchiMate uses those concepts. This is really where ArchiMate focuses on to service-oriented architecture. It uses services to connect the different layers to each other. So if I go back, also we saw the application service as concept to connect the application layer to the layer. It's not a story, but it is a good practice to use these services because it allows you to make lots of services and then in the layer itself focus more on the implementation. components, services, nodes, devices are the costs we see here on this example. If a total picture, so a layered view from all down, for business service we are delivering to the customer, or process are supported by application services, which are realized by application components, which in infrastructure services realized by infrastructure components like our mainframe and my file server. So now we have a complete model with all the layers connected to each other, and this to do an image analysis, for example. So what's happening if we're going to go to replace our custom administration system? The only language that really covers all those domains, and you can create these kinds of diagrams. I said about this, but there are other languages like UML. Why do we dive straight into UML? Well, in our experience, it's better for communicating with different stakeholders. For example, so with business people, come with detailed UML diagrams, business people don't understand, and it's not designed for enterprise architecture. UML is more a language for detailed application design, in make connection to the business layer or to the infrastructure layer. It's really about the integration on a high level between the layers. Not many details. Also, let's this line. ArchiMate works with views on model. So create one large repository with all your applications, process, and infrastructure elements, and use functionality of ArchiMate to create views which focuses on a specific aspect you are interested in. To a bit further about communication. So this is the basic of ArchiMate. How is it to communicate with different stakeholders and prevent situations like this? Notions are important here. So we talk about a stakeholder, something which rests a part of your architecture. A view, a diagram, simple see. Where you're looking from. So it's actually how a view is going to look like. And the different stakeholders have different interests. They need different views, have different viewpoints from which they are reasoning. But Arch allows you to have one consistent architectural model and the mechanism of different viewpoints to create different views. Let's in more detail in the next couple of slides. In actual life, we city, and the ruler of this city is the city council. He has a turn. He wants to do something with a development plan for the future. He wants to have a photo of his complete district from the air. Then you, as a result, have this aerial view. So the picture is the. I'm also a stakeholder, but I'm also an owner. And I have another concern. I want to have a building permit to build something new in my house. Then serial view is not really useful for me. So I have we need viewpoints, in this case, a detailed photo of my house, which reveals this photo of my house. So different have different concerns and viewpoints are needed to communicate. Has made some basic viewpoints for stakeholders inside enterprise architecture. Arch talks about the viewpoints, which focusing on like the architects, software developers, or business process designers. So more people who are going to make a decision, manage CIOs, CEOs, informing. So other employees informed about enterprise architecture, but not decide about it or not going to design it themselves. And create overview views or focus coherence or really detailed views. The specification of the viewpoint ArchiMate. In the specification there are specific viewpoints explained. So what are designing viewpoints? How do they look like? Which code should be in there? Which not? And one repository with complete model. Everything is in there. But it is to show on a complete view. So with different views. For only a part of application architecture, which is interesting for application designer. Only view of my infrastructure architecture, which is important for an infrastructure specialist. View of main, but only for one business product or specific product. Or a diagram, but the table wants to use different symbols. Also, it's possible to use the tool by creating visualizations. Everything is based on the repository model which we have built, and this way to create different views. This model, different for different stakeholders. There's a lot more to talk about stakeholders. You have to do the agenda. In a couple of months, there will be a specific webinar about how you communicate with stakeholders. More examples about this. ArchiMate also allow you to use the road mapping, so differences between current and a target state, or is and to be. The example of my application landscape, and in coding is indicated which applications are part of my current state, which are of my future state, green, or are part of both, so blue. One view, okay, in years, we're going to build this system, and we're going to phase out those systems. So we have the ArchiMate visualization to compare it to a stakeholder-specific visualization with other symbols. That's also a possibility. What the benefits of ArchiMate, it really makes architecture visible to stakeholders, to different stakeholders. It's designed for enterprise architecture. So only language that really connect different domains to each other. As a central concept, allows you to create a service-oriented architecture. It's flexible, and it's not difficult to get started. The two things, and you are with it. It supports analysis, and it's supported in different tools and service providers. So this was ArchiMate, the basics, and about the language and the advantages. I'm now to some details about TOGAF. So we have the ArchiMate modeling language and the TOGAF framework as your process to implement enterprise architecture. It's a work that describes process leading to architecture. That's really core. Also, which elements should be part of your architecture, and it talks about different points again and techniques. Also, breathe is the standard in the world, the work for EA, and it's actually best practices are in there. It's a result of over 15 years of development. So really good stuff there. TOGAF of 6 components. Not going into detail about all those. We focus today on the architecture development method. Development methodology, which is this process, so different steps you have to create your enterprise architecture. We think about the architecture content framework, because this is where ArchiMate comes and can be used in combination with TOGAF. So maybe this architecture development methodology already is quite known. In short, it has phases. It's about getting the organization committed and involved in architecture. So the different people think about the architecture vision, getting stakeholders in place. Get architecture right. So build architecture, building your architecture, creating your application architecture, creating technology architecture. Make architecture work. So we can create projects to release all the architecture elements we need. And management, you can say, keep the process running. So if we have an enterprise architecture designed, it's going to end. We need to maintain it and all phase for the future. When you through the cycle, we saw it defines different deliverables and architects. And TOGAF defines 3 types: catalog, mix, and a diagram. All those deliverables can be created with ArchiMate. The diagram we have seen again a diagram with connection between business and application layer. A catalog, a list properties of your applications components. Or, for example, a matrix from applications to business processes, which checks to indicate which applications support business processes. All created based on one ArchiMate model. TOGAF is architecture content framework, which is indicating which elements should be part of an architecture. ArchiMate comes again in place because this architecture content framework can add to ArchiMate and its proposed extensions. Not going into detail, but you will see all the objects that are placed in the ACF can be to an ArchiMate concept. So ArchiMate offers the whole architecture content framework. This can be made with proposed extensions. We'll talk about it later. But center is the ArchiMate core, so the 1.0, and above will become the engines of ArchiMate, which will be released in the ArchiMate 2.0. You can implement the architecture content framework with ArchiMate because ArchiMate provides this well-defined language, the core of the ACF. And some concepts are addressed as extensions. If we ADM and made in more detail, then we see that the current framework of ArchiMate, so the business application and technology layer, on phase B, C, and D of the ADM, which architecture, information systems architecture, technology architecture. So this I was talking about ArchiMate 1.0, the layers. 2 actions are coming up for ArchiMate. White papers are already available. An extension, implementation, and migration extension. Mention talks about stakeholders, principles, requirements. Implementation and migration extension is about programs and projects and periods. So these extensions, new concepts and relations are introduced to cover types of projects. And even at the ADM, we will see four cases B, C, and D, which talks about stakeholders, requirements further on, covering parts of the preliminary phase, the architect vision phase, and the team's management phase. The implement migration extension talks about projects and periods, really about phase C and F. So, by the core and the extensions, all of the ADM can be ported with ArchiMate. And because TOGAF defines perfectly well all the steps you have to take in the different phases, we don't really talk about in detail which tool you should create. It only indicates on a high level, okay, you need to use your baseline information systems architecture. The modeling support language you can use to create this architecture. And for the case study, so go through AM cycle, all these show you how ArchiMate can support this in TOGAF. About a company, ArchiScience, was a merger. So in the past we had 3 different companies. One company only dealing with home insurance. One profit, it is about which sells car insurances, and some legal insurances company. Those 3 companies merged into one new ArchiScience company. We walk through the ADM and use ArchiMate as modeling language. It looks like this. This is our situation. So for merging, we have all different kinds of applications. So accounts application, a lead back office, and financial applications, policy applications, 2 CRMs, so many systems because we have integrated the 3 companies. But we want to develop a single back office system to be 3 back offices. So want one CRM system. You see it right. Not all systems, one back office system, one CRM system. For the case. If we then through the TOGAF ADM, so please look at the right bottom to where we are in the ADM cycle, are in the preliminary phase and the architecture vision phase. We need to think about our architecture principles. And they, how ArchiMate, our extension then of ArchiMate, is model architecture principles. So principles, application principles, data principles, and C principles. Further, we can use the extension of ArchiMate to model stakeholders, concern, and business goals. So we all as a stakeholder, we really have to think cost effectiveness, and this can be transformed to a business goal, real IT services. But those as stakeholders, they are more interested in the ease of use of the new application. Then define as a goal form the user interface. Them to think from out of the stakeholders what are their concerns and how can transform concerns to goals, high-level business goals, which is part of the phase A of TOGAF. Phase A, we create an architecture vision. Well, you can ArchiMate like this to create only a really high-level diagram, not too many detailed concepts, some processes, some applications, some infrastructure, to create a high-level picture of the solution. Then we do phase B, business architecture. According to that, we develop there the baseline and target business architecture. For example, an diagram of your business roles and functions. So what business functions we have, what are the information they are exchanging, and furthermore, how is the communication with external parties like the bank, an intermediary, and the customer on the information flow that is exchanged. Or also important business processes. So again, what are the level business processes we have in our architecture? Application architecture, so phase C of TOGAF, becomes interesting in the case because we're going to replace our application, some of our applications. So the baseline application architecture of our systems, in which we see there are all kinds of different legacy applications because merge. The target is, so we'll develop the target architecture part of phase C. Simple. So we have back office system, CRM system. Design and target developed in ArchiMate. You can also use the analysis functionality. So show, for example, in color coding, what is in baseline and target and what is only in baseline. So you see in one view that all the orange items will be placed to our future. Those are actually legacy systems. Now have models of business and of application architecture. You can also create the view in which the layers are combined. So here we see a fragment for the target architecture of how systems supporting or business processes. Or models of the data architecture, also out of phase C. Which data objects do we have and the business objects do we have? Then in TOGAF, technology architecture, also have a baseline with different servers for each application. So here again, the application server, the legal aid application server, with physical applications deployed on it, and or network. Again, far more simple. One office servers. We have backup server we're going to introduce, and one back office which is deployed there. Again, use the gap analysis mechanism. Show in color coding that all is going to be replaced, and we introduce one new thing. We to have a backup server. Then the application and technology alignment. Our logical application components implemented in physical application. So this B, C, and D in the TOGAF ADM. We now on to phase E and F. This deals about defining projects and defining transition architectures. In ArchiMate, for example, like this. So this baseline application architecture on the left. Target application architecture right, and the transitions we have to be able to come to this state. Take route first, replace the backup system. You can take this alternative, replace the C system, or introduce one CRM system. Two tips. You can and this with the stakeholders. What is the best way to go? So, define stage between the base and target. Also define projects. With the implementation and migration extension of ArchiMate, you are able to define projects. So you can create models like this, based on architecture defined, in this B, C, and D. The architecture defined in B, C, and we position architecture A. So we go for the alternative A, which indicates that we first go into the project of integration of CRM systems, and then secondly, integrate back office system. ArchiMate extension, you can model it in a diagram. So here are the projects, and you indicate on components of your architecture the projects are going to work on the different applications and servers. So with extension, you really can integrate your project portfolio with your enterprise architecture. And use to map tool. If we go to page H, if we talk about change management, it is not in management. You're not going to create new models. We can use your ArchiMate model to do analysis. So thing is happening in the world, and you want to know where impact is on a specific system. You can use impact of analysis or create tables of all your applications with properties. So there are ways in which you use your ArchiMate model then. Then to find the ADM cycle, in this area you see requirements management as part of the TOGAF methodology. The extension of ArchiMate allows you also to require which can be back or up to business goals and folders we have defined in phase A. So here an example of some requirements in this project. A complete ability. So you recall here we have stakeholders, those have concerns, are transferred to business goals, and they're out in requirements that then can be connected to develop application components we have to develop, actually all other ArchiMate objects that are available in the core of ArchiMate. And do analysis on this traceability, so focus on specific stakeholders and walk through the complete tree. There's also a lot to talk about. Our white papers available about the extension can be downloaded from the TOGAF Open Group website, or contact me. I can also provide those. So summarize TOGAF ArchiMate. So ArchiMate are really business architecture, application architecture, data, technology, and transition architecture. Extensions of ArchiMate also principles, stakeholders, concerns, projects, and requirements can be supported. So if you then to the ADM cycle, you see that preliminary throughout SF and requirements management is then completely supported by ArchiMate and its extension. In many ways, it's a low entry level. If you just want to play around, there are templatable in Visio or Omni level stencils, and also commercially supported by different tool vendor certified. And all service providers have experience in using it. So organizations that benefit from ArchiMate in the US, ACA in the UK, Tata Steel, Rogers in Canada, lots of organizations in Europe, different organizations in many different markets, commercial, governmental, manufacturing, units research. So all markets there are organizations that use it, and various case studies are available. Here's some experience. This was central. ArchiMate makes it easier to communicate with architects or business people, organization boundaries. So talk from architect to designer. It's use, and it's close between the different domains. Something about the future. So extensions will become part of ArchiMate 2.0. Further with TOGAF under construction, certification will be set up, and more user experience will be collected. Some about more information. you can up and to have more details about this presentation or about my work or something I told you today, you can contact me here. And I hope there's some room left for questions. So.
Many thanks. That was a very interesting and detailed insight into the use of ArchiMate in relation to TOGAF. Just to reiterate, this event has been recorded, so if anyone wants to download or view the recording again, it will be available tomorrow, and you will receive an email with a link of where you can find that recording. So this is the first in a series of ArchiMate webinars that the Open Group is bringing to you, so please keep your eye out for those over the next couple of months. We have quite a few questions, so what I'm going to do is just work my way through the questions on QA and then jump up to the questions we've got in chat, Rob. So starting with a question from Jerome van der Berg, asks, in your experience, what are the key areas where ArchiMate delivers value when compared to other architecture modeling tools?
In my experience, I see that lots of organizations are struggling with the BIS IT alignment. Really getting how my applications are supporting my business and what this I like is. Where I see the most value, because ArchiMate makes it clear only for your IT people, but also for business people. You can close the gap between those two stakeholder groups with the use of ArchiMate.
Second question from Dario Vargas. Can we represent a workflow operation in business layers? Each activity has to do an activity that has to be done every week.
Yeah, there is ArchiMate this event as a concept, and define an event as something that's happening in the outside world. But you can also use it as a time event, a time trigger. So, for example, okay, every week this is fired, and this starts up a specific business process. So that's the best way to model it.
Rob, a question here from Matt Kroon. He's asking, with tools are the repository roadmap or views made in this presentation?
And this presentation, the views are made with the tool of BizDesign Architect. So what these are made with.
Fosh asks, is ArchiMate part of TOGAF, independent of it, or related to it?
And so are both open standards from the Open Group. They're separate books, but they're still separate. But there are is now a work group who's going to look at the integration between the two, and in practice they used often in combination. So form two different standards, but they are going about different topics. Talk about a process, the methodology, and ArchiMate as a modeling language. In practice, combination is very successful, and in the future also going to be combined in one book. But that's for the future.
Thanks, Rob. Greg has a couple of follow-up questions here. Does ArchiMate have a formal model?
Yeah, a formal data model or meta model from ArchiMate. It is completely described in the specification. So it consists of the concepts, definitions, the relations, and how we can connect all the concepts to each other. The complete meta model specification available.
And Greg's third question he asked, does an enterprise architecture have to conform to ArchiMate to be TOGAF certified?
Can you repeat the question, Simon?
He asked, does an enterprise architecture have to conform to ArchiMate to be TOGAF certified?
Okay, no, they're not mandatory. So if you want to become TOGAF certified, you have to take the TOGAF exam and to know the TOGAF methodology. short. So past exam, they're TOGAF certified, and in some are not ArchiMate specific questions present. To build this, also for ArchiMate there will become a certification. It is progress, so we expect that in this year or early next year there can also take an ARC certification exam, and then you can also become ArchiMate certified.
Thanks, Rob. Kroon has come back asking for a little bit more clarification with regards to the tool you used for creating some of the elements within this presentation, and he asks, what would you recommend we do in order to elevate our base design in Visio, create a proper repository which while creating the views you are talking about? Okay,
depends a bit of how you used Visio, whether you already used the ArchiMate stencils in Visio or not. It's well quite easy because then we can import Visio ArchiMate diagrams out of Visio into Base Design Architect. It's really easy. Other symbols in Visio, then you need to build a trans mechanism. So you have to indicate, okay, if I have a symbol in Visio, a block, it's an ArchiMate language, specification components, or an action function, or a business process. So that more work. You do this together with the client, discuss about, okay, what is your content you have in Visio, what is it representing, what is it ArchiMate language, and then build an automatic import function to import all those data into Architect.
Thanks, Rob. We have a question here from Samir Gupta. This is a kind of a start question. He asks, where and how to start to learn about ArchiMate?
They can do is go to look in slide. This slide. If you do ArchiMate.org, this site, there you starter kit. There is a link starter kit. We can find some introductory papers about the language. So all the details of the starting papers, as you start reading those, familiar with it. And there are also some other links, for example, or tool and the Visio stencils. There's a complete starter kit available, and that's the language. Also, training courses around the world available in the language. But if you want to learn it yourself, I suggest you should download those starter kit papers.
Thanks. Good guidance. Question here from Veer Muchandi asks, why did ArchiMate create a separate spec for business process instead of just adopting BPMN?
Yeah, if you look at the BPMN language, it can become very detailed. BPMN is a good language to create detailed process really into workflow for this. But if you want to have on a bit higher level, which enterprise architecture is about, and be able to connect it to the other domains, it's too detailed. So that's why ArchiMate goes to not take BPMN concepts, only select the essential concept of business layer and take into the ArchiMate language.
Okay. Douglas asked, what is the expected time frame for ArchiMate 2.0 with the proposed extensions?
So I said the white papers are there. So if you have the white papers, then it is already finished. There's only a formal procedure within the open group and in progress. And I expect that it will be ready, I hope for the summer, but at least a year. I can't say precisely when this is. But the available.
Ask, is there any open source project for ArchiMate tooling?
Yeah, there's a tool which is called ArchiMate, an open source tool. You download. And this tool has also an exceptionality to BIS Design Architect. So if you just want to play around a bit, you can download Archi, and if you then say, well, I want to do something more, then you can use the data you have in this tool and export, for example, to BIS Design Architect.
Okay, I'm aware of the time, so I think we've just got time for one more question, then we'll wrap it up for today. Last question is from Dion. He asks, does BIS Design Architect support UML, and sequence diagrams, use case studies, etc.?
Architect is really an ArchiMate implementation, so we don't have UML inside our architect tool, but we have tools in our complete BIS Design suite, and in tools you can drill down to more UML models. So yes, but in order to for suite to be BIS Design Architect, really ArchiMate tool, and it's certified tool, so that's why only ArchiMate's in there.
That's great, Rob. Okay, so with the hour mark, and I'm aware that people have got to get on. So at this stage, I'd like to thank Rob for the presentation. Thank you all for attending this event. We'll go through all the questions that we haven't managed to answer, and we'll try to get back to everyone with sufficient answers over the next few days. Once again, thank you everybody, and please do look out for future events on ArchiMate, which will be broadcasting over the next few months. Thank you, Rob.
Okay, thank you, Simon.